Lucy, what are you doing? My goodness. Is that what the engine is for? Is it for climbing? Hi, Lizzie. Oh, Lizzie. My goodness. Can you make it down safely? Okay, see, I thought it was somewhere there. Oh, you made it down? Very good. You found the bicycle? The green one? All right. All right, here we go. So I got all the injectors out. I got some tote boxes. So that way we can put everything nicely in one place where it's kind of organized. I labeled them all with the cylinder number that they came from. Those are the valve cover bolts right there in the corner. And I didn't notice it, didn't mention it in the last video, but couple of the freeze plugs are out. And I'm trying to figure out what that could mean. I don't know if the engine would have actually frozen or what, but when I got it, everything was disconnected, so it wouldn't have been full of water. And actually, we found a freeze plug over there.
Yeah, I found that one.
And so I don't think it would kind of defy, like right there, that's it. So I don't think it would get there by gravity. And this valve cover was loose too, so somebody's been working on that already. Kind of tight. It's gonna have to probably work it with the hammer a little bit just to break up all the rust. And all right, well, this thing didn't really want to come off, so the rest of the exhaust is loose, but this bar here is not having it. So what I figured is, well, once the head is off, then I can put one of those pickle fork ball joint tools in there, and if I hammer that in there, that'll do the trick. That'll get that thing off. That'll put enough force on it. So it's separated from here, so the whole exhaust manifold should just come off with the head. All that stuff's going to be super tight, so this stuff has to be out of the way. I'm just going to have to get this whole valve cover deal off. So that means injector lines have to go first. And you look at these injector, whatever connector pieces, this is kind of a hex shape, and there's a hex shape below here. So this is supposed to keep the injector line from turning, but it doesn't. So it just, whenever I turn on this, it just turned the whole thing, and then it's just going to twist your injector line off. And I know a set of these is wickedly expensive. So the only, tried clamping onto here, but it would still slip inside of there. So the only other place I found was over here. The sealing surface actually is inside. So this thing that goes in here has an O-ring. So it seals on the inside of this. And then of course the threads are here, but this surface here, it didn't look to me that was particularly critical. As long as you don't squish the whole thing to be an oval, then it'll be okay. There we go. I guess that's how it's done. I'd say this one was a little bit easier actually than that first one. That first one was quite an adventure. But it's a smidge tighter. See, can you still see? One was kind of nice because it's much easier to clamp onto that rusty part than the clean part. I think that's the issue we're having here. I don't know if using it the other way around. I actually used it the other way around first. I know this is let's see. Yes, this would actually be the proper orientation, I think. Anyway, right? Let's try this then. And this thing is not having it. Alright, so I was looking at a couple of these injectors, and I noticed in several of them that that thing had already been removed, or at least, I don't know if this is a replacement for it or what. No, that's there on all of them. So that little clip had been removed, and then you can just put the vice grips right on here, or even just a regular wrench, and then it's no problem getting it off. So there's several of them where you could already do that, and you just put the vice grip right there, and then it comes off. And this one was quite easy somehow, but this one's just not having it. I tried to clamp on here, and you can see that it's already starting to mar this surface, and I don't want to do that. So I think this just has to come off. So I'll probably just take this little nut off and then just cut here. This is a circle around it, so you can't get it off without cutting it, and at the same time, you know, you can't get this nut off without being able to clamp on this. So we got a bit of a chicken and the egg problem there. Half-inch wrench. If you do like this, if the bolt's starting to kind of get stuck on you and you don't want to risk getting the stud out, then you can just every time you turn it, you just do like that, and that'll kind of work all the nastiness out. Croil, so I actually ordered a couple spray cans of Croil, so we'll be trying that here. Actually, it's I got a notification it's at the post office, at our post office box, but that's a round trip, more than an hour drive from here, so I don't really want to get out of here and spend a bunch of time driving. It sure is one effective way to not get anything done, is to just go drive around to get piece parts. So I don't want to be doing that. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to get that flat blade screwdriver, because I bought a set of flat blade screwdrivers, and they're cheap screwdrivers. They're at the parts store, 10 cents a piece. So I said, well, how many do you have left? And he said, well, we got about 10. So I bought 10 flat blade screwdrivers for $1, and they were cheap screwdrivers, but man, they've been the best chisels and the best pry bars that I've ever had. So, and most of them are still there. There's a couple where I went berserk on them and I broke them, but I think 8 of the 10 are still around. So yeah, all right, there we go. Hey, Edsel is back.
What is it? How's everything going?
Well, this bolt is incredibly tight, and so I spent the last 20 minutes just dealing with that.
We don't have batteries, so...
Alright, well, I got all the injection lines off on the cylinder side, and I'm working on this side, and some of them did have rust in them, so we'll have to clean these lines out really good. They'll probably be okay as long as we clean them out really well. So I'm just finishing up the other side here. Some of them are okay. There's a couple of them that I have to wiggle a lot. They got all of them cracked loose, so no nasty surprises there, but I don't think you can see it from there very well, can you? Let's see. Huh. Okay, how about this? One's still tight. If you wiggle them a whole bunch, it'll kind of get all the rust and crud and stuff out. So yeah, it's going better now. Since this pump's kind of buggered up anyway, I think this will be a good one. We can take this one apart first and practice on it a little bit, see what's inside and see how it works, and then just in case some critical pin or adjustment or things comes falling out, then there's no harm done. Yeehaw! Look who's here. Mr. Edsel. Can you do a burnout?
What?
Can you do a burnout?
What's a burnout?
You know, you spin the tire.
Oh. A little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty hot. Yeah, this electric bike has a lot of power.
Yeah, doesn't look that hard. I guess what's hard is not to fall on your face.
And so you said you were gonna go.
Oh! Alright, next step I'm going to take off the intake, the runner from the turbo to the aftercooler. Alright, now these couplings between the turbo and this pipe, this is the end of the turbo right here, they just have an O-ring in them, but even O-rings can be pretty tight. I mean, you put some WD-40 in there, and then it's just a matter of just pulling on it hard enough until it's and kind of wiggling it until it gets off. Now with the ratchet strap, you can run it. If you get this style that's welded together right here, you can run the strap through the eye again. So that's a nice feature. So you can just wrap it around here a couple times, and actually it might be better to get the hook on the bottom. Put this behind here and then run it through the eye, and then we can go over to the lifting lug right here at the front. Put some tension on it, and then we can wiggle it by hand. It's pretty tight. See, what I was able to do with the other one is put the crowbar in there and turn it. Let the strap pull on it, and then pull it out, and then use this to turn it at the same time. I think it might be turning this junction instead of that one. Let's see. coming. There we go, it's out. See, there's the, it's got 2 row O-rings here. It's got some grease in it, so somebody's probably greased that up before putting it together. Either that or the turbo wasn't doing very well, so might be a bit of both. So there, that's off. Let's see, when this is like that, you can just pull it back and it'll be back to normal again. So there you see the aftercooler. It's basically just a little bitty radiator. It has very fine fins. I think because the air pressure is so high in there, the fins can be finer and it can still work. If you do the same thing with the regular radiator, the air doesn't flow through very well anymore, but because this one works under pressure, then it can have finer fins. So at first sight it looks okay. I've had some, if the turbo goes bad and that thing's all caked with oil, they're pretty much a waste. You can't really do much with them anymore if they're completely gunked up with oil. I don't know if y'all can see very well in there, but anyway, we'll have all that stuff apart and we'll get a better look at it. But that's the aftercooler. So if I take all these bolts off, I should be able to take that out and get a better look at it. Alright, I got all the bolts out of the aftercooler, and I already lifted up on it a little bit. It's starting to come, but I thought I'd let you join me for the ceremony here. So you can see that radiator's down in here, and on the other side you can look through it. So I figure I can lift it up by just sticking something through here and lifting up on it. That way I have something to lift on. It's almost like a Model T radiator or something. The connections are here, so I don't know how we're supposed to get this thing out. I don't know if it's got some O-rings in here or something, to where once you get these bolts out, then can you just take the thing out, or how's this supposed to work? We'll just unbolt it and pull on it and see what happens, and if it's not budging, then we'll go read the manual. Alright, so there's the aftercooler. I took all the bolts out, and it should be possible to remove it now. I know I did one of these on a 8V92 Detroit, and the coolant connections were just O-rings. So you could just pull that out, theoretically. I need to get under here and get some upwards force, either that or use those lifting lugs. Maybe that's how you're supposed to lift it off. Just have to make something to actually pull on that. It's moving a little bit, not a whole lot. I don't think there's any more screws. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws holding it. Man, it's pretty tight. I don't think that would prevent me from lifting it up at least a little bit here, so I think it's probably still stuck on something else. So I'm gonna puzzle a little bit. Show everybody what you made.
I made this.
Oh, it's beautiful. What does it say?
It says, Mom, Dad, I love.
Where's the
Love.
Oh, just love, right?
Yeah. I forgot.
Mom, Dad,
Wow.
love. Oh, I love you, Lucy.
I love you too.
Oh, and I love Nomi. Oh, Nomi's so sweet. Right, Nomi? Hi, Nomi. Oh, I love you, Nomi.
Me too.
Look, guys, I'm making some good progress with the engine. I got the valve covers off.
Dad, can I grab the ball card so you don't...
Okay. I think the key is in it. Just make sure you don't lose it. All right, so I got this off. So I think all these bolts, I thought I said they were intake manifold, but I think they're for the head actually. So I'm gonna take all those bolts off. Although there's a couple missing here. I found some bolts in intake manifold. Part of the reason I hadn't actually taken the vacuum to this thing yet is because there's bolts buried in the dirt there. Well, you have to make sure the donkey doesn't escape. I'm keep getting distracted, so I'm taking these things off and see if that helps any. Oh, they left without you? Oh no. They left without you. Oh no. What are you gonna do? I think you can catch up with them with your lightning speed feet, your 7-mile boots. Leaving? My goodness, look at that. Whee! Bye! All right, so 20 minutes later, I finally got this, what do you call it, putty knife or whatever those things are called, and I can lift this up, but I got that elbow off, and this is lifting up with it, so they're clearly connected together. So I think I might have to somehow unplug this. Obviously, this is not going to go through the hole, so I think I need to unplug that thing. See if I can stick something in here and pull this off. There's probably some O-ring or something in there. All right, here we go. We got all the bolts on the turbo loose, and it's I think it's free. Let's see. Do you want to lift it up a little bit, Edsel? Hang on just a minute. Something's still not being agreeable here. All right, can you roll it back?
What do you mean roll it back?
Roll it backwards.
Oh!
Alright, here we go. Our turbos are up. The exhaust comes out of here, right? It goes here and spins the turbo. Everybody's gonna get a black hand now. Everybody get in line. Okay, everybody get a black hand.
I feel the back.
I got stuck, right? I don't think it turned.
No, I can't feel it.
The
Black hander.
black hander. Instead of black adder, you're black hander.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
A little bit.
yeah, a little bit.
Not enough.
It's heavy, that's for sure. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You got 4 black handers. How did I get that up? Oh, that? So, I think Evaporust is good for that stuff. I don't know if it makes any sense to bring that to a radiator shop. They probably just basically do the same thing. It's probably best just to flush it out, just go back and forth, get a jet of water, and alternate between this side, that side, this side, that side, this side, that side, and then get a whole bunch of Evaporust in it, leave it sitting, and the Evaporust will, all this rust stuff, it'll turn it into dust. So, uh-oh. Uh-oh.
My turn.
All right. Everybody gets turns being lifted up?
No, my turn now.
Okay.
It's my turn. You know, when I was... That's much quicker.
It's much faster.
It's starting to work me.
All right. Anyway, the turbos are off, and then so now it's easier to get to all this stuff. This will be easier to get this off and that off, and then once I pull these things off, then I can get the aftercooler off, and then... Alright, so I got all the turbo stuff off the back, and I'm pulling these things off. They are on there with an O-ring, as I suspected. It's quite hard to get them off, actually, so what you have to do is you have to rotate this stuff back and forth until it's, you know, that way it's kind of scrapes all the dirt and stuff off that keeps it from sliding off. So I got this strap here keeping some tension on it, so the strap itself is not going to pull it off. Like if you do, you'd probably rip the thing out of there. In fact, it was quite tight. I really had the darndest time getting this thing to move at all. But what I do is I put those 2 bolts in there, and then I'm just going to demonstrate with one hand here. Use the crowbar. Of course, that thing doesn't cooperate, but put the crowbar in there, and then you rotate it, and you see now it's moving off of there. So it's moving out. You just rotate it back and forth until it pops off. It's almost there. You see the other one is way back in there, and then this one's almost coming off. I think the last little bit is probably got some corrosion on it because it's feeling kind of tight again. It was going pretty easily a minute ago, but that's kind of changed now. So, oh, there it goes again. I think it's almost off. Probably just a few more turns, and then this thing is off. You can see it kind of sliding off of there. So I don't know how you're supposed to do this with, you know, if you're not rebuilding the whole engine. That sure would be very difficult to do because all that turbo stuff is in the way. All right, so just with the steady pressure and just rocking it back and forth, I got those 2 things off. So you see they got two O-rings. These actually look like in pretty good shape. Of course, I'm gonna, you know, clean all that stuff and replace it anyway. There's a fair bit of rust in here, but you can actually see right down the tubes, and I'm trying to maneuver the camera such that you can actually see it. So right there, you can see down the tubes there. I don't think the camera's focusing very well. It's focusing on the close by stuff instead of the further away stuff. So you can see right down the tubes, and of course my screen turns off. Let me turn it on again. You can see down the tubes and they look pretty clean as far as I can tell. I found only one down here where I can see down there, and it's got some stuff in it. So if I look down there, you can see the fair bit of rust laying in the bottom. But it's just laying there. I don't see that it's stuck in the tubes, so I think we should be able to just work that out with our fingers and the magic force field called gravity. I think if we fill this with evaporust, it'll be just fine. I don't see any reason that we need to take this to a radiator shop. So there's some good news there. Well, a bit of disappointment here. The bottom side of the radiator didn't look nearly as nice as the top side. I think basically this is all water that's been in the engine and caused rust. The good news is I think the evaporate rust will do a good job of getting rust out. So if we soak this in evaporust and clean it out real well, I'm still hopeful that this thing will clean up nicely. And I'm not going to have to buy a new one, because I'm sure this does not look like a cheap piece. Alright, I'll go break out the evaporust and we'll see what we can do with this thing.